I've got a piece of paper, this piece of paper, and I offered it up to the fuselage and kept trimming it until I was happy with the size of it. Transferred it to a bit of light ply, not light ply, 4 mil, 0.4 mil ply, and kept trimming and offering up, trimming and offering up, trimming and offering up. I think I started at the front actually. Just kept soaking it with CA, section at a time, spray, activator, and it's on. So I'm quite pleased with that. Oh, before I stuck it on, I cut the hole. It's easier to cut it hold on the table. I think I'm going to glue that on. So the motor, the outer ring will glue on there, and I can shape it. But I'm thinking I might glue that on and shape it before I fit it to that, because I might be able to mount this in the drill to get a nice bit of sanding going. And I need a dummy engine in there as well. Show you what it's doing. So I've got the plywood disc here, and it's just coming to the edge of it now, so I can start just bringing it around any second. So get in there. This is so much fun. It sands differently whether it's end grain or side grain, you see, so you're never going to get it absolutely spot on, I don't think. Not with everything moving. If you had it absolutely fixed, you might stand a chance. There we go. Now, this is my plan. Let me show you my cunning plan. This is the motor I'm going to use. It's just a standard little cheap 2205, 06, something like that. But it'll be plenty for this. And I've screwed it onto a piece of 1/8 ply, marine ply. And I've got this as a spacer. This is this light ply. And I'm going to glue the light ply to the bulkhead. And then the motor part is going to screw to the packing piece, spacer piece. I will have to put a washer in there for right and down thrust, so that's going to be easy to do just by putting screws behind that. It might be an idea actually just to drill the holes while I've got it out in front of me. Anyway, so, and that is going to stick to the bulkhead. Let me bend you up a little bit. That's going to stick there. That's going to stick right over the top like that. So I've got that. And then I can just screw the engine mounting plate straight to that, and it'll just bring it out in exactly the right place. I'm going to cut out some more discs just to bring that forward. Then I can glue it all together. That's the plan. Right then guys, I've stuck the cowl on. And there's the motor. That's going to go in there. I stuck the spacer on as well. So the motor is going to screw onto. Motor's going to screw onto there like that. And then I'll put a dummy cylinder engine around the outside. So yeah, I think that looks quite nice. Quite pleased with that. And then if I need to take the motor out, you know, it's quite easy to do. These are going to be too high because you can see why. This one is actually too low. It's the same both sides, and that one's just right. Look at that. And then when they're in, there's a 0.4 mil ply side fairing. It curves around. Because of that, it's got to be 0.4 mil down. A little squeeze in there. Okay, that's one done. I'll run some more down, of course. And that one there. I'll do the other side, and then I'll make a paper template first, I think, and offer it up and see how it's looking. I've fitted the plywood cheek one side, and I'm just going to fit the other one. On this side I've fitted a couple of small blocks just to stop it dropping down. It's dropped down slightly there. Nothing I can do about it. I suppose I could fill it actually. But don't forget the cowl is a separate piece on the full scale aeroplane, so a join line there is acceptable. That could easily be a poor fit. So I'm just going to put this in. So what I've done, I've just beveled this edge, so it's easier to do it now before you put it together. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to run some CA down along the top, some white glue along the side here, and I'll CA along the bottom afterwards. Let's just get that. Okay. Now it's important to get this pretty much perfect straight away. Possibly could have gone up slightly higher, but it's stuck now, so and then keep pressure on, bring it around. I'm just going to run some CA up here and pour some white glue down the inside, and it will make a good joint then. Let's just hold that in there a minute. Give it a quick spray, I suppose. Amazing how all of a sudden it's got that lovely round chunky look. So there's the cowl and cheeks done. Coming up to the point where I can't do much more on the fuselage now. So next part then, guys, is going to be the tail feathers. Let's start this bit with the fin and the rudder, and it's laminated on the outside edge. I'm not using 16 because it's going to be absolute devil to bend around this tight bend, so I've stripped up some 1/32. Hopefully that will go around a bit easier. I might end up having to steam that very end piece, we'll see. So first thing to do is to cut out something to bend it around. The way I do it is to pin it through. What I want to do is cut out that inside shape. You've noticed I've taken a photocopy of this part of the plan. Just makes life a bit easier to work on it. And also I'm going to build it here, and then that still leaves me an area to build the tail plane while the laminations are drying. There's several ways you can do it. You can glue it entire length. You can glue them all together, like on your workbench now. Slow setting glue, because you've got to, with them all, imagine them completely glued. You pull them all around in one go. That's kind of like a nice way of doing it, as long as it will go round. Personally, I find this way a little bit more controlled. What you can do is pin them all around and then take them off when they're dry and glue them up separately. That's very controlled then, and you don't get any splits. You know what you're getting. Each one's going to be slightly bigger than the next, so you've got to make sure they're over length. If you cut them to the exact length, you'll find you're going to be a little bit short. I'm just going to spray a little puddle of water there, look, on the plastic. I'm just going to make sure that's nice and wet, because I think I'm going to assemble these dry. And then another little thing you can do, you can do it when you take it off if you like, just number them. Just put a little dot, 1 dot, 2 dot, 3 dots, to signify which layer is which, because each layer is going to be slightly bigger than the next. And it's kind of like more accurate if you know exactly which layer you're working on. That back in, and then I can pull against it. You see why you need to go over length, because they're going to be cut there and there after they're dried. But it's also a good idea to just mark the length on there, just so as you know that you're past the point that needs to be cut off. You don't have to do any of this stuff, it's just me really. So I'm just going to stretch it, and around she goes. Each one is going to be a little bit less curved than the next one, because it's a bigger curve, which is good. The first one's a tricky one. Once the first one's gone in, then you're laughing really. One more will do it. I was asking a lot of 1/16. It'd have to be very soft to get around that bend, or steam it of course, and then you're okay. Okay, last one. I'm pushing them down against the board, keeping them all level. It doesn't matter when they're dry like this, but when you're gluing them, make sure they're all level. Okay, bit of a stretch. Let's give it a bit of a pull there. Stretch it around. Okay. See how it dents? It doesn't matter, because that's the bit that's going to be cut off, but if that wasn't, then you'd be ruining your finish. That's my laminations in. When they're dry, I'll take them off and I'll number them. I don't actually write a number on, I just put a dot. One dot is for number 1, etc. And then I'll glue them in. 3mm sheet. Everything's made out of 3mm thick wood. The ribs are 1.5 by 3. I can strip those from 1.5 sheet. There's a bit of solid sheet in the middle, of course, where it has to mount to the aeroplane. The leading and trailing edges and hinge points are 1/8 by 1/4 by the look of it. So I'm going to strip some wood up. It won't take much, will it, to build that. I'm going to make it fairly hard wood, because I don't want it twisting or warping. And as soon as I've got the bits made, I'll come back to you. Okay, I've stripped some bits up here. Some 1/4 by 1/8 and some 1/16 or slightly over by 1/8, and the middle panel. I'm going to put down first. End grains need to be pre-soaked, so I'll just do that now. Just smooth it in there. Any other end grains? Well, there will be when these are cut to length. Okay, I'll just do the others. I'll be right back. Okay, so all the bits cut out. I'm just doing the ends. Doesn't take long, does it, to put one together? With gussets, the grain has to run the length of the longest side for maximum strength. I'm going to put all these ribs in, guys, and the gussets, and I'll come back to you and we'll take a look at the fin and rudder, because it's worth gluing up now, I think. Back in a minute. Right, the tailplane is made and set in, gluing. So I've just unpopped all this, and now it's time to glue it back on. So the first one can actually be pinned in place. It's still damp actually, it's been probably an hour or something, but as you can see it's going in there quite easily, so I'll problems. Now the important thing to make sure is that it's tight. Any little wrinkles or kinks are as tight as they can be, and they're all pushed down to the same level. So that's number 1. Number 0 actually. I want number 4. Yeah, I'll put a little 4 dots on so I know exactly which one is which now. So let's just run a load of glue in there, and what squeezes out squeezes out. Smooth it in there. What you want to avoid is air gaps, you know, any missing bits, because it just produces air gaps. Okay, I've got to work fast with this glue because it's quite quickly drying. Okay, there we go. It was easy, wasn't it? Just going to put a temporary pin in there. I'm going to start now pushing it down. Use something to push it down if you want to. Be easier. Push it down and make sure it's as tight as it can be all the way around like that. Making sure it's pushed down nice and level. Just carry on doing this, guys, and I'll come back to you in a minute when I'm doing the last one. That could do with going in there because it's pulling away very slightly in the middle. So if I put that there, put that there, pushing the glue out beautifully on the bend that wasn't quite staying where it should. Yeah, this is working pretty well actually. It's better than doing the blocks because it supports it exactly where it's needed. There we go. There we are. So we'll let that dry. That's this cutting the foam has worked quite well actually. So alright guys, back soon. Okay, so I popped off the lamination and it wasn't completely dry, still flexible, but that's fine, and just built up the internal structure for the fin and rudder. So we'll let that set and then we'll be able to take it off. Incidentally, I didn't mention when I cut the laminations, I made them thicker than 3mm. It should have been 3mm, but I made them about 4.5. This gives me a little bit of wood to sand down just in case each lamination isn't quite as flat as the next one. So before I actually pinned it down onto the board, I sanded the side that is down on the board so it's nice and flat, and then the ones on the top I can sand down to the thickness of the fin and rudder, which is 3mm. So, and then that way you don't end up with little sort of divots that need filling because everything is perfect. You get my drift. Anyway, so there we are. We'll let that set off, guys. Unpin it all off. I might be able to unpin this now actually, but I'll just give it a little bit longer, and then we'll trim up the edges and have a go at offering it up to the fuselage. Speaking of which, there's something on the fuselage which I hadn't noticed earlier. There's a little as you can see, the tailplane is about +1 degree, and there's a little triangular fillet here as well. So I'm going to try and cut this triangular fillet and a tapering down fillet here, so it'll all be one piece. So I might draw that up on the laser and get a really accurate cut on that. We'll see. Either way, that has to be done. Right, let's lift them off. Let's lift them first. It's not too bad. It's a little tiny gap there, pump some glue into, but yeah, not too bad. There we go. Cool. Feels pretty light. All cut from one small sheet of 1/8. It's just a little bit wider than that. There's a curve at the back of this. I could take this outside and start sanding it to section as soon as it stopped raining momentarily. So she's cut the worst off of there. And the section is, I'm going to try and taper the elevator as I can, if a bit. Because the more weight you take off the back, the better. It tapers down to about a 1/16. So that's what I'll aim to do.